Hello, I'm Beverly Barnett with Compass Real Estate. Today, I'm going to be speaking with Stephen Sutro, one of San Francisco's finest architects, and he's going to be taking us through 750 El Camino Del Mar and some of its potential and telling us a little bit about himself. I'm so excited to have him as a guest today. Stephen, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really excited to talk to you. You and I work together a bit with clients and things like that. But tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you get started in architecture? Are you a native San Franciscan? Is Sutro Tower named after you? All that good stuff. I'd love to know.
I grew up in San Francisco. I love San Francisco. I studied architecture at Berkeley, where initially I was taking classes in the pre-med department, taking organic chemistry and a survey of architectural history at the same time. And I just loved the architecture department and the classes I was taking. So that took over and became my major. And so after studying at Berkeley, I began practicing with several different architects in the Bay Area in San Francisco. And then in 2006, founded my own practice.
Oh, wonderful.
And we focus on nicely done single family residential projects, primarily a little bit of commercial, a little bit of hospitality, but primarily single family residential throughout the Bay Area, and then in second home locations around the country.
Oh, nice. How many projects do you think you've completed so far?
Oh gosh, I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not sure. But in the hundreds for sure.
Wow. Well, I've seen quite a bit of your work, and I'm always so impressed and referred you to, a few clients. So, and I know they've enjoyed working with you. I wanted to talk to you, you and I have been working with 750 El Camino Del Mar, and I reached out to you to do some renderings and just wanted to get your thoughts. It's such an incredible location in Seacliff, and the home has so much potential. The current family's been there for 60 years, but that house, if it was new and laid out the way we live life today, would just be, incredible and so valuable. So I loved the renderings that you created and just wanted to get your opinion on the property, the potential, things like that from an architect. I so respect your work.
Thank you for being so kind. It's an easy property to envision some simple changes that I think would unlock even more or potential or kind of leverage its wonderful assets. So it's a beautiful house. It's in a beautiful spot. Some of the things that it has going for it are that it is freestanding and has light on all sides, which is unusual for homes in San Francisco. Yeah. San Francisco zoning has an RH1D, they call it, district, which stands for detached. And the detached zoning designation is only in a few small pocketed areas. When you think of San Francisco typical homes, I grew up in a Victorian house that was cheek to jowl with houses beside it. And if you pay attention when you walk or drive around San Francisco, you'll see that most are right up against their neighbor. So anyway, it's very prized to be in a spot where houses are detached from one another entirely, so that windows can be placed or historically placed all around the home. So that, even though that's a kind of a very objective, somewhat small deal, it's really a big one, and is important for light all around the house. And the Victorian houses, for instance, mostly, other than light wells and staggered little bits, have primarily get their light from the ends. Well, this house, like others in a detached district, gets light from all sides. Also, it has kind of a prominent location topographically, it kind of stands up relative to the way the land slopes away towards the view at the rear. And that really gives it this kind of sweeping, really neat vista kind of view. Obviously, the Golden Gate Bridge and the headlands are front and center from the view at the rear. But I think it's kind of accentuated or made very dramatic by the way the topography slopes away. So it's just really a privileged kind of spot with this kind of perch. Also, the size of the house, the bones of the house, people call it, are big and broad and kind of nicely proportioned. And
Yeah.
so certainly there are areas of the house that are a little bit more broken up or privatized in a way that our kind of current patterns of family life have evolved a little bit differently. But
Yeah.
I found that kind of looking at the layout of this house, that some easy changes would make it flow a little bit better in the public spaces, and would lend itself really nicely to family life, but still having spaces for people to get away from one another, or kind of entertain in different ways. So it was an easy house to diagram, really.
Oh, and I love how you took it, because now you're right, the rooms, they are, some of them are, very grand. And of course, it was built when we lived our lives with the rooms being separated. And today, of course, we want that open floor plan. And I really like how you opened the kitchen up and you put the island, but the kitchen family rooms all takes advantage of that big view from all levels. And even the primary suite, you're laying in bed and you see the Golden Gate Bridge, and then at the front of the house, how you really connected the current library and that other room that was the caretaker's room, and created a nice formal living room. And it does seem like, I totally agree with you. It's so easy if you stay within the existing envelope. But what do you think the potential is going outside the envelope? And do you think that would be difficult?
Right. So we drew two schemes, and I can pull them up on the screen, and I can talk you through the decisions that were made, but you're touching on those things. I do not think it would be difficult to add on to this house, and it's a really great candidate, particularly at the lowermost level, the garden level. And it's great in San Francisco to have homes that can open up indoor, outdoor, and flow out to usable yard space. And this has a wonderful yard. And that doing that is well within the mathematic code of what's allowed. And then the benefit also of pushing out at the garden level, is that you'd have a wonderful terrace on top.
Yeah.
And the terrace on top would be a great asset for the living space at the primary living level, of course, because you could flow in and out.
Yeah.
And that kind of outdoor space in San Francisco is really wonderful to have as an extension of the living space, because it kind of visually extends
Right.
the
Yeah, I
space.
love
And then
that.
when it's on the nice days, you can open up the windows and kind of feel like you're indoor, outdoor, even if it's a little breezy. And so I think it really makes the house kind of live bigger and look bigger and feel bigger. Plus, on that terrace, you have that killer view, so it would be a great place to hang out when it's calm.
I helped one of my other clients sell a house a few doors down, and what he did, his house already had that, from the main level, it went out to a terrace, and then he had stairs that went down to the garden. And he would tent the garden and throw amazing, parties. And so I agree, having a yard that size in San Francisco, and then one that you have a view from that yard, it's just so rare that you get that type of a view from the yard as well. Yeah, I mean, if you don't mind just maybe going over a little bit of the renderings that you created,
Sure.
would be great. And then while you're doing that, I know that a big question these days is about the cost. And of course, the cost has increased when it comes to the pandemic and things like that. But and again, I'm not going to hold you to the exact numbers, but, maybe as you're going through, you can talk, okay, if we did this type of remodel and stayed within the current four walls, it's an approximately this amount. If we maybe added and built out the lower level, it would add this amount. And then if
Sure.
you just pushed out the whole thing, it could be X amount. I'd
Sure.
love that. Thanks so much.
Sure, happy to do that. So I popped open the floor plan of the primary living level as a place to start, because it's where you come into the home, and it's kind of the most significant part of where you would spend your time. And I'll talk about construction costs maybe after showing you around the plan a little bit.
Perfect. That's awesome.
So you don't have to kind of fundamentally move everything around in this house, I don't think, for it to be really wonderful. The moves were really easy. The staircase in the center is this beautiful object. And so what I thought of doing is consolidating the staircase so that the path up and down is all in one spot on this large helical staircase, because it's so beautiful. And the kitchen currently is kind of on the back side of the house. By
Yeah.
opening it up to the view and connecting it to a breakfast table, family dining space on the view, it would mean that um, whoever's in the kitchen where most of the activity takes place these
Yeah.
days, it seems, would take advantage of the view so that you're not kind of squirreled away in a spot that is more service oriented. And um, everyone these days seems to want living spaces that are interconnected and flow to one another, but have some kind of architectural expression between them. So they're a little bit kind of psychologically and a little bit physically separate and distinct. And this house is large boned enough for that to happen. And so the small bits of wall between the family room and the kitchen and between the family room and the dining room express those kind of large classical openings that are really lovely in a classically boned house like this. And so if we create these regularized spaces, it feels like those spaces were always part of the house, even if they live in a more contemporary manner. Now, you mentioned that there was a bedroom suite, perhaps kind of like a caretaking kind of
Yeah, towards the
function at the
front.
bottom right.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Where you have that living library now. I love that room because by opening that up, it's just you still get that very spacious, grand feel for the home. But I love how, we don't spend a ton of time in our formal living rooms, but to be able to have that, and it's the perfect spot for like if you wanted to use that for a lovely library home office, it's perfect.
Yes, it could provide a function for a home office that's beautiful, but also could host a cocktail party or book club
Yeah.
kind of thing. I think of houses when they're big enough of having a couple spaces where people can host different things or get away from one another when someone else has a different kind of activity. If kids are doing homework or watching TV kind of at the kitchen island or the family room, you could be having some kind of more adult conversation in the front room. It's a great place to host book club kind of thing. And then
Right.
with the circular flow that's created by doing this, I think it helps the house breathe more.
Yeah.
That bottom right-hand corner, it being currently a small bedroom, kind of blocks the visual access to the front windows and blocks kind of this circular flow that really feels good. We think of if a kid can ride a big wheel in a circle around a house, it's going to feel good.
It's good. Yes, yes.
So that staircase goes up to the bedroom level, obviously. And this plan shows 4 suites. Um, and it could be that a family would want to do the primary suite all along the view and could consolidate to 3, and that would be lovely and fine because there's a guest suite easily, or even 2 that could be planned at the garden level. But we chose together, Beverly, to illustrate this
Right.
as 4 because it's rare that a building is really big enough and beautiful enough for 4 to fit.
Exactly. Yeah, I
And so
agree with
the
you.
primary suite here on the upper left has the best diagonal view of the bridge and has a large in-suite bathroom, of course, and 2 walk-in closets, one a little larger than the other. That is a great size suite. But if someone wanted to take over more of the view with their primary suite, you could put the bathroom a little farther to the right and kind of take over more of that space for a larger suite, maybe do a larger walk-in closet, that kind of thing. But the sizes of these, I feel, are very comfortable. And then each of the other suites is a nice size. 2 of them share a bathroom, and then the 4th bedroom has another in-suite on the view. So this laid out very easily from my perspective. Sometimes we have clients that ask us for a wish list program that doesn't fit well inside the envelope of a house.
Okay.
This one fit easily.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, and I love, like you said, the 4 bedrooms because it is so hard to find, or like sometimes you have really 3 nice size bedrooms, and then the 4th bedroom is really small. So it's just so wonderful for a family, or someone just needs his and hers office even, or whatever. I mean, you could do that downstairs as well, but the home really lends itself so nicely to multiple uses.
Mhm. And then I'll flip down to the garden level.
You did a great job on this level. I mean, it just lays out so nice.
This was easy too, because once I made the decision to consolidate the staircase that currently is elsewhere, underneath the main staircase, which would both be pretty and functional.
Yeah,
It frees
beautiful.
up more space. And so we can get a large garage, we can get a big playroom, media room, garden room that would open up to the garden, and then a beautiful guest suite. Those could be flipped. The view from the media room, probably in that corner, is really great. And so if you wanted the guest suite to have it, that could be wonderful too. There's a large laundry room here. There's a mud room on the way in from the garage. We think about how people come home with lacrosse sticks and backpacks and
It's
junk. We
needed.
really
Yeah,
hope that either a child being dropped off or driven by their parent or eventually driving themselves, but can drop their gear and kind of shed all their stuff on the way into the house so that we don't
exactly. It's
jump
perfect.
upstairs. Yeah. Um, and then all these windows, of course, if you added on to this, it could even get bigger, but this is confining itself to the footprint of the existing house. And all of those windows have a view of the garden and then a view of the ocean and the headlands across the way. And then we did a second scheme. I'm going to flip through. Those are the upper levels of that scheme. This scheme shows if we extend the house just a little bit. This is an extension of approximately 8 feet, or kind of amortizing those bay windows and then going out a little farther. It's a modest expansion for the area. It could even go farther, but I found that this is kind of all you need. And so this just increased the size of the media room. Maybe there's a game area, whatever, there's just more space to furnish.
Yeah.
And this kind of room we really find to be great as a getaway for kids or for the full family to watch a movie kind of thing. And it allows that separation so everyone's not driving each other crazy. The guest suite could get larger. There's a large walk-in closet for it here. If that's not necessary, maybe it's a larger bedroom with a sitting component. This kind of room we find to be great for long-term guests or an au pair, or just a guest that's not going to stay long, but having a private space.
Yeah.
And because it's separated from the other bedrooms, it seems to be a really comfortable way to host guests without them feeling that they're intruding upon your personal space.
So important today. People are really looking for that so that the family has their space. And then, like you said, the guests have their space as well. So I really like that layout. Great idea.
This, the upper level, the main living level in this scheme is substantially the same, of course. There is shown the balcony or terrace that would be on top of the extension. And then this one, we changed the bay windows to square them off to get a little bit more space. But this level, as you said, of course, could push out a little bit as well. Those two square dormer or square extensions that have been shaped that way could be connected. The whole facade could move out at this level a bit. But anyway, this would be lovely. And then this level is the same. It's just showing, looking down onto the terrace below.
Yeah.
Now, you asked a question about construction costs, and that's a great question. And we often help you with your clients analyze properties that are for sale or other things that they're considering in kind of a quick manner so that they can make some informed decisions about what they would like to do and plan. These days, if you build a new house that's beautiful, it costs in the range of $1,000 a square foot to $1,500, $1,600 a square foot, something like that.
Okay.
If the house is wonderfully wood paneled everywhere and has the most fantastic, beautiful details in either a traditional manner or in a contemporary manner, but if every material is exquisite, then the construction can cost $2,000 a square foot.
Yeah.
But most homes these days are costing about $1,000 a square foot to build.
Okay.
And so that's a new home, and that figure can apply to a home like this if you're completely changing all of the outside and the inside. So for instance, this house has been wonderfully maintained. The exterior is doing great. You might want to change windows and certain things if you wanted to, but it's voluntary. But if you wanted to make everything brand new because that were your goal, to have all of the woodwork, all of the stucco, all of the roofing, all the flashing, and the doors and windows, and the mechanical, electrical, and insulation, and the list goes on, everything new, then the cost is the same as constructing a new house. So you can expect it to be $1,000 a foot or $1,500 a square foot, or in that range.
Okay.
If the project is more judicious or is isolated to certain areas, then it becomes more difficult to use a per square foot multiplier. But you can kind of think, well, if we're going to move some walls, do a kitchen bath renovation, but we're going to keep the hardwood flooring, we're going to keep these walls, we're going to keep the doors and the hardware, keep the stairs, those kinds of things. Then you could say, well, maybe we broad brush the idea of 700 a foot across the whole thing, or 500 a foot, or if it's more intense, getting up to the whole thing. So it's a little bit hard, and builders will always shy from doing that kind of pricing exercise. What they would rather do is properly count everything. And so if it's not a whole renovation, which is easy to estimate, then the real proper way to do it is to contemplate all the things, the areas that you would like to do, and quantify them.
Yeah.
And we have builders that help us do that in a 1, 2, or 3 day exercise to empower potential buyers so that they can feel like they know what they're getting into.
Well, thank you. I love, it's such a wealth of knowledge, and you're such a wealth of knowledge, and to just break the house down and show its potential is amazing. I love Seacliff. Like you said, it's a gem of a neighborhood. I love the privacy, and you really feel like you're in a suburb in San Francisco. So well, thank you so much, Stephen. I'm
You're welcome.
so appreciative of you joining me. I'm sure we'll be working together, and I hope you have an incredible day.
Thanks, Beverly. Talk to you soon.
Welcome. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.